It was Christmas Eve in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where every porch glowed with string lights and the air smelled faintly of pine and wood smoke. Families were gathered indoors, children laughing, parents preparing for the holiday morning. But outside, in the falling snow, a boy named Daniel was playing alone. He was only 8 years old, bundled in a red coat, his boots leaving small tracks across the white lawn. His parents watched from the window, smiling at his excitement. Minutes later, those tracks led into the street. And then they stopped. Daniel was gone. The panic spread quickly. Neighbors poured out of their homes, flashlights cutting through the snow, voices calling his name. The search became a community effort. Dozens of people combing the woods, the frozen creek, the empty lots. The air was filled with shouts, prayers, and the crunch of boots on ice. Hours passed, the snow thickened, and then, just before midnight, someone shouted. They had found him. Daniel stood at the edge of the woods, staring blankly at the search party. His face was pale, his eyes wide, his breath fogging in the cold. He didn't run to his parents. He didn't cry. He simply said in a flat voice, "I'm not Daniel." The crowd froze. His mother rushed forward, tears streaming, but when she touched him, she pulled back as if burned. His father whispered, trembling, "He's right. That's not our son." The boy looked identical. Same coat, same boots, same small scar above his eyebrow. But something was wrong. His movements were stiff, unnatural. His voice carried no warmth. Neighbors tried to reassure the parents, insisting it was just shock, trauma from being lost. But the parents refused. They shook their heads, pale with dread. "This isn't him," his mother whispered. "I know my child. This isn't him." The boy smiled then, a slow, unsettling smile, and he said, "Daniel stayed in the snow. I came back instead." From that moment, the neighborhood was never the same. The parents refused to let the boy inside their home. They locked the doors, drew the curtains, and begged the authorities to take him away. But the authorities insisted this was their child. DNA matched, records matched, every test confirmed it. Yet the parents would not accept him. The boy lived in the house, but the family treated him like a stranger. He sat at the dinner table, silent, watching them. He slept in Daniel's room, surrounded by toys he never touched. He went to school, but classmates whispered that he never blinked enough, never laughed, never cried. And every night, when the snow fell, he stood at the window, staring out into the dark. Weeks passed. The parents grew thinner, haunted. Neighbors whispered about arguments, screams in the night. Some claimed they saw the boy wandering outside at impossible hours, barefoot in the snow, leaving no footprints behind. One evening, the mother confided in a neighbor. Her voice shook as she said, "He tells us things Daniel could never know. He talks about people who died years ago. He describes places we've never been. and sometimes he calls us by names we don't recognize. The neighbor asked why they didn't leave. The mother's answer was chilling. Because he says if we leave, the real Daniel will never come back. The story spread beyond the neighborhood. Some believed it was a case of trauma, a child lost and changed by fear. Others whispered darker theories, that something in the woods took Daniel and sent this imitation in his place. The parents clung to one hope, that their real son was still out there somewhere in the snow. So, every Christmas Eve, they organized another search. Neighbors joined, flashlights sweeping the woods, voices calling into the night. But they never found Daniel. They only found silence, and the boy in the red coat, watching from the window, smiling as if he already knew the truth. The final twist came years later. The boy grew older, taller, but his face never seemed to change. His eyes remained too wide, his smile too sharp. His parents aged, worn down by dread. One night, the father snapped. He confronted the boy, shouting, "What are you?" The boy tilted his head, calm, and whispered, "I told you, I'm not Daniel. I never was, but you let me stay, and now I'm all you have." The father broke down, sobbing. The mother turned away, hollow-eyed, and outside, the snow fell heavier than ever. Neighbors swore they heard a child's laughter echoing from the woods that night, a voice faint but familiar, calling for help. But no one went out to look, because everyone knew if they found him, it wouldn't be Daniel. It would be something else. And so the legend of the missing child in the snow spread far beyond that neighborhood. Parents whispered it to each other, terrified. Children dared each other to repeat the boy's words. Daniel stayed in the snow. I came back instead. Some say the boy still lives in that house, grown but unchanged, staring out the window every Christmas Eve, waiting, watching, and smiling, because the snow always takes someone, and when it does, it always gives something back. It was supposed to be the most magical night of the year. Christmas Eve. Families gathered around fireplaces, children tucked into bed, waiting for the sound of reindeer hooves on rooftops. But in one quiet suburban town, the sound that echoed through the night wasn't sleigh bells. It was the sound of windows being forced open. The sound of footsteps where no one should have been. And the sight of a man dressed as Santa Claus slipping into homes that weren't his. At first, neighbors thought it was a prank, a drunk man in costume, a holiday joke gone too far. But as reports spread, the truth became impossible to ignore. This wasn't a joke, this was a break-in spree. Families described the same chilling image, a tall figure in a red suit, white beard, and hat pulled low over his face. He didn't speak, He didn't steal gifts, he just stood there, watching. One mother swore she woke up to find him at the foot of her child's bed. Another family said they saw him crouched in their kitchen, staring at the cookies left out for Santa. And when confronted, he would vanish into the night, leaving doors unlocked, windows cracked open, and a lingering sense of dread. Police were called. Patrol cars circled the neighborhood, but every time they arrived, the man was gone. Like smoke, like he knew the houses better than the families who lived in them. And then came the discovery. The one detail that turned this from a bizarre crime spree into something far more disturbing. In one home, a father noticed something strange. The attic door was slightly ajar, boxes had been moved, and tucked behind old decorations, he found a sleeping bag, half-eaten food, empty water bottles, and a small notebook filled with scribbled observations. Notes about the family, what time they ate dinner, when the children went to bed, what gifts were hidden in the closet, even what arguments the parents had late at night. The man dressed as Santa hadn't just been breaking in, he had been living there for weeks, watching, listening, waiting. When police finally confronted him, the family was told to stay inside. Officers moved through the house, flashlights cutting through the dark, and then, from the shadows of the basement, he emerged, still in costume, still silent, his beard stained, his suit torn, but his eyes wide and unblinking. He didn't run, he didn't fight, he just smiled and whispered one word: Christmas. The officers restrained him, but what they found afterwards was worse than anyone imagined. Hidden crawl spaces, secret passages he had carved out to move through the house unnoticed, evidence that he had been inside other homes too, watching families prepare for the holiday, watching children sleep, watching parents argue, laugh, and wrap presents. He had been everywhere, and no one knew. The story spread like wildfire. Parents whispered it to each other in hushed tones. Children were told not to leave cookies out anymore. And every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of a shadow carried a new kind of fear. Because the idea of Santa Claus was always comforting, a figure who entered your home to leave gifts, not take them. But now that image was corrupted, twisted, turned into something predatory. Some say the man was mentally ill. Others believe he was obsessed with the idea of becoming Santa, not the cheerful myth, but a darker version, one who didn't just visit homes, he inhabited them. And even after his arrest, families swore they still heard footsteps in their attics, still found doors unlocked, still felt the sensation of being watched. The legend of the Santa Claus break-in became an urban myth, a cautionary tale told every December, because the most terrifying part wasn't that he was caught, it was the realization that he had been there all along, living among them, blending in, waiting for Christmas Eve. And the question that still haunts the town is simple. Was he the only one, or are there others already inside your home, waiting for the night when everyone lets their guard down? So if you hear footsteps this Christmas Eve, if you wake to the sound of someone moving in your kitchen, if you see a shadow in red standing at the foot of your bed, remember this story, because sometimes the man in the Santa suit isn't here to deliver gifts. Sometimes he's already been living in your house, watching, listening, and waiting. Merry Christmas. It was Christmas night. Snow fell in heavy silence, blanketing the small suburban neighborhood in white. Inside one particular home, the Parker family sat together. Fire crackling, lights twinkling, the faint sound of carols humming from the radio. It was the kind of night meant for peace, warmth, and safety. But then came the knock. At first, it was faint, a single rap against the door, then louder, then frantic, until it sounded like someone was pounding with both fists, desperate, terrified, begging to be let in. The family froze. Mr. Parker stood, his face pale. His wife clutched their youngest child, while the older one whispered, "Who's out there?" The knocking didn't stop. It grew more violent, shaking the door on its hinges. And then came the voice. "Please, let me in. They're chasing me. They're right behind me." The man's voice cracked with panic. He sounded breathless, broken, like someone running for his life. The family hesitated. Every instinct screamed danger. But what kind of people would they be if they ignored someone begging for help? Finally, Mr. Parker unlocked the door. The man stumbled inside. His clothes were torn, his face flushed red from the cold, his eyes wide with terror. He slammed the door shut behind him and pressed his back against it, breathing hard. "Thank you. You saved me." The family gathered around, cautious but sympathetic. Mrs. Parker asked, "Who was chasing you?" The man didn't answer right away. He just stared at them. His breathing slowed, his trembling stopped. And then, very softly, he smiled. That smile was wrong. It wasn't relief, it wasn't gratitude, it was something else entirely. Something colder, something that made the room feel smaller, the air heavier. Mr. Parker's voice shook. "What's going on?" The man finally spoke. "They're not chasing me. I was chasing them, and now I'm here." The family's blood ran cold. The stranger straightened, his posture no longer desperate, but calm, deliberate. His eyes scanned the room, lingering on each family member as though counting them. "You opened the door," he said softly. "That's all I needed." The Parkers realized too late the man wasn't the victim, he was the predator. The children began to cry. Mrs. Parker pulled them close, whispering to her husband, "Call the police." But the man stepped forward, blocking the hallway. "You won't make it in time." The fire crackled louder, as if mocking them. Outside, the snow muffled the world, isolating the house completely. The family was trapped. The stranger's voice dropped to a whisper, almost tender. "Do you know what happens when you let the wrong person in?" The Parkers backed away, hearts pounding, every second stretched into eternity. And then he moved. Fast, too fast. The rest of the night unfolded in terror. The family fought to survive, barricading rooms, whispering prayers, trying to outsmart the man who had tricked his way inside. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of the Christmas lights became a reminder they had invited evil into their home. By the time dawn broke, the neighborhood was still silent. Snow continued to fall, but inside the Parker house, nothing would ever be the same. Because the man who knocked never left.
It started as a dare. A group of friends, 5 of them, decided to sneak into the Christmas tree lot after midnight. The place had been closed for weeks, its rows of pine and fir left standing like silent soldiers in the cold. The lot was fenced off, the lights dead, the air heavy with the scent of sap and frozen soil. They thought it would be funny, they thought it would be harmless, but what they found beneath those trees was anything but harmless. The lot sat at the edge of town, tucked behind a strip mall where no one went after dark. The friends, Evan, Marissa, Tyler, Jenna, and Chris, slipped through a gap in the chain-link fence, laughing under their breath, their footsteps crunching on frost. The trees loomed in neat rows, their shadows stretching long and crooked under the pale moonlight. Each one was tagged with a price, faded numbers dangling from brittle strings. "Feels like a graveyard," Jenna whispered. Tyler smirked. "It's just trees. Chill." But the silence pressed in. No cars, no wind, just the faint creak of wood as the lot settled into the night. They wandered deeper, weaving between the rows. The smell grew stronger, earthy, damp, almost metallic. Evan stopped near a cluster of taller pines. He crouched, brushing his hand over the soil. It was uneven, disturbed. "Someone's been digging here," Evan muttered. Marissa frowned. Why would anyone dig in a Christmas tree lot? No one answered, because the truth was already sinking in. The ground was soft, too soft for winter. Tyler kicked at it, and the dirt gave way, revealing something pale beneath. At first, they thought it was a root, but roots don't look like that. It was bone. A human jaw, half buried, teeth still intact. The laughter died instantly. Chris staggered back, his voice cracking. "We need to go, now." But before they could move, a sound rippled through the lot. A low whistle, slow, deliberate, coming from the far end of the trees. The friends froze. Someone was watching. The whistle grew louder, echoing between the rows. Then it stopped. Silence swallowed the lot again. Marissa clutched Evan's arm. "Who's there?" she called, her voice trembling. No reply, only the faint crunch of footsteps circling. They tried to retrace their path, but the rows twisted, endless, disorienting. The lot felt bigger now, stretching farther than it should. Every turn led to more trees, more shadows, more silence. And then they saw it. A figure, tall, wrapped in a heavy coat, face hidden beneath a hood, standing perfectly still at the end of the row, watching. Tyler shouted, "We're leaving!" His voice cracked with bravado he didn't feel. The figure didn't move. Instead, it raised a hand, slowly, pointing back toward the disturbed soil. The friends didn't understand at first, but then the ground shifted. The dirt trembled as if something beneath was trying to rise. And it did. A hand broke through the soil, rotting, gray, clawing at the air. The friends screamed, stumbling back, but the hooded figure remained still, its hood tilted slightly, as if amused. More hands erupted from the ground, arms, faces, half-decayed bodies clawing their way out from beneath the trees. The lot wasn't just a place to sell Christmas trees. It was a burial ground. The friends ran, weaving through the rows, but the dead followed, dragging themselves free, their moans echoing in the cold night. Jenna tripped, falling hard. Evan pulled her up, but when he looked back, the hooded figure was gone. Or so he thought. Because now it was behind them, closer, whistling again. They reached the fence, clawing at the gap they had entered through, but the chain link was different now, twisted, sealed shut. "No way out," Chris whispered, his voice hollow. The figure stepped forward, finally revealing its face. It wasn't a face at all, just darkness, a void beneath the hood, and from that void came a voice, low and guttural. "You shouldn't have come here." The trees began to move, branches twisting, roots tearing free, the lot itself alive. The friends were surrounded, trapped in a maze of wood and bone. Marissa screamed as a root wrapped around her ankle, dragging her toward the soil. Evan tried to pull her free, but the ground opened, swallowing her whole. Tyler swung a broken branch like a weapon, but the hooded figure raised his hand again, and the branch turned to ash in his grip. One by one, the friends were dragged down, into the dirt, into the graves beneath the trees, until only Evan remained. He clawed at the fence, bloodied his hands, begged for escape, but the figure stood behind him, silent, patient, and when Evan finally turned, exhausted, broken, the figure leaned close. "You'll feed the lot now." The next morning, the lot looked normal again. Rows of trees standing tall, waiting for buyers. But if you looked closely, you could see it. The soil beneath them, freshly turned, the faint outline of hands pressed against the dirt, reaching up. And if you listened carefully, you could hear it. The whistle, low, deliberate, waiting for the next group of curious souls who thought sneaking in would be harmless. Because the Christmas tree lot was never about selling trees. It was about keeping the ground fed and making sure no one who entered ever left. The lot still stands today, closed, silent, But every December, people swear they hear whistling when they walk past. And sometimes they say, the trees seem to move.
It began with laughter. The kind of laughter that fills a warm living room on a cold December night. A neighborhood Christmas party, bright lights, clinking glasses, the smell of cinnamon and pine. But beneath the cheer, something unsettling was waiting. Because this year, the gifts weren't from each other. They were from someone else, someone unknown. The boxes appeared neatly stacked by the tree. No tags, no names, just identical wrapping, deep crimson paper tied with black ribbon. At first, everyone thought it was a joke, a quirky party favor. But when the host insisted he hadn't placed them there, the mood shifted. Still, curiosity won. One by one, the guests opened their boxes. Inside, ordinary trinkets, a candle, a scarf, a book, each gift harmless, even thoughtful, until one box was opened. It belonged to Claire. She peeled back the ribbon, smiling nervously as everyone watched. Inside was a small wooden box. She lifted the lid and froze. Her smile collapsed, her hands trembled, because inside was something no one else could understand, but she did. A photograph, old, faded, of a night she had spent years trying to forget. Her darkest secret exposed in front of everyone. The room fell silent, Claire's face drained of color. She shoved the photo back into the box, but it was too late. Her husband had seen it, her neighbors had seen it, and the look in their eyes told her everything. The sender knew. Whispers spread. Who had done this? Who knew their secrets? Because suddenly the other gifts didn't feel harmless anymore. The candle, the scarf, the book, were they clues, messages, warnings? Every guest began to wonder, was their box hiding something too? Something waiting to expose them? The party unraveled. Laughter turned to suspicion. Friends eyed each other with quiet dread, because if Claire's secret was revealed, whose would be next? Hours passed. No one left. No one dared. They sat in that living room, staring at the crimson boxes, waiting for someone else to open theirs, waiting for another secret to crawl out into the light. And one by one, it happened. A man found a letter he had written years ago, never sent, confessing to an affair. A woman discovered a blood-stained glove from a hit-and-run she thought no one knew about. Another guest pulled out a recording device, playing his own voice, whispering threats he had made in private. Every box was a mirror, every gift a weapon, every secret dragged into the open. The party became a nightmare. Neighbors screamed at each other. Marriages shattered in real time. Accusations flew like daggers. And through it all, the gifts kept coming. Because each time someone thought they had opened the last box, another appeared beneath the tree.
By midnight, the living room was chaos. Tears, rage, people clawing at each other, desperate to know who was behind it. But the truth was worse than they imagined, because when the final box was opened, there was no trinket, no photograph, no letter, only a single note, written in sharp black ink. I am here. I know all of you, and tonight you know each other. The lights flickered, the tree shook, and in that moment, every guest realized the sender wasn't outside. The sender was among them. The party ended in silence. No one spoke, no one dared, because now every neighbor knew the truth about the others. Every bond was broken, every smile was fake, and the gifts had done their job. Weeks later, the neighborhood was unrecognizable. Families moved away, friendships dissolved. The party was never spoken of again. But sometimes, on cold December nights, a crimson box appears on a doorstep. No tag, no name, just black ribbon. And inside, a secret, one that was never meant to be shared, because the sender is still out there, watching, listening, waiting for the next exchange. And when the box arrives, you'll know, because it will contain the one thing you hoped would never be seen. The neighborhood thought they were celebrating Christmas, but what they really celebrated was their own destruction. And the gifts were never presents, they were confessions.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and share. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you never miss an update.